My sister secretly sold the $425,000 mansion I'd gifted my parents for their 50th anniversary to cover her gambling debts. So when I discovered it, I showed up with police property records and had her arrested for real estate fraud. Welcome back, family. If you haven't already, subscribe and say hi in the comments. We'd love to know where you're watching from. With that, let's continue today's story. The phone rang at 2:47 a.m. I remember because I was staring at my alarm clock, calculating how many hours of sleep I'd get before my morning surgery rotation. I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon, and sleep is a luxury I've learned to treasure. But when I saw Mom flash across my screen at that hour, my stomach dropped. "Baby, I'm so sorry to wake you," Mom's voice trembled, thick with tears. "But we got an eviction notice. They're saying we have to be out in 30 days. I sat up so fast my vision blurred. "What? That's impossible. I own that house. I bought it outright for you and Dad." "That's what we thought too, honey. But there's a man here with papers saying the house was sold 8 months ago. He owns it now and we're trespassing." My hands shook as I threw on clothes. The mansion I'd purchased for $425,000 3 years ago for their 50th anniversary was their dream home. For bedrooms, wraparound porch, the garden Mom always wanted. I'd worked double shifts for years, saved every penny, sacrificed my own comfort to give them security in their retirement. "I'm coming right now. Don't sign anything." As I drove through empty streets, my mind raced. How could someone sell a house they didn't own? Then my sister Vanessa's face flashed in my memory. She'd asked to borrow the deed last year to fix a clerical error with the county records. I'd trusted her. God, I'd trusted her. I arrived to find my parents on their porch, looking small and broken in their bathrobes. The new owner, a middle-aged man named Eric Lincoln, stood awkwardly by his car with a folder of documents. He seemed uncomfortable, not malicious. "I'm Dr. Morgan Ellis," I said, extending my hand despite my rage. "I'm the actual owner of this property. May I see your paperwork?" Eric hesitated, then handed me the folder. My blood ran cold as I flipped through it. A deed transfer. Notarized signatures. My parents' signatures. But the seller's signature made my vision blur. Vanessa Ellis, listed as power of attorney for property owners. "This is fraud," I said quietly. "My sister forged these documents. I paid $380,000 for this house," Eric said, his voice rising with panic. "I have a wife and kids moving here next month. I sold our previous home. If this is fraud, I'm ruined." Dad stepped forward, his hand on my shoulder. "Morgan, baby, let's not jump to conclusions. Maybe there's been a mistake." That's when I lost it. "A mistake? Dad, she forged your signatures. She sold your house." I pulled out my phone, hands shaking. "I'm calling the police right now." "Wait," Mom pleaded. "Think about Vanessa. She'll go to jail. She's your sister. She's a thief." But even as I dialed, doubt crept in. Could I really do this to my own sister? Officer Jenkins arrived within 20 minutes, a tired-looking woman in her 40s who'd probably seen every family drama imaginable. I handed her my documents, the original deed in my name, bank records showing my $425,000 wire transfer, and the fraudulent sale paperwork. She examined everything with professional detachment, then looked at Eric Lincoln. "Sir, I need you to provide all documentation related to your purchase, including the name of the real estate agent or attorney who handled the transaction." Eric's hands trembled as he pulled up emails on his phone. The agent's name was Alex Harrison. "He works for Prestige Realty." He seemed legitimate. I did a title search and everything. "Did the title search show Dr. Ellis as the owner?" Officer Jenkins asked. "No, it showed the parents as owners with Vanessa Ellis holding power of attorney." Eric's voice cracked. "Oh God, my family. What am I going to tell my wife?" I felt a flicker of sympathy for him. He was a victim too. But my parents stood there in their night clothes, facing homelessness because of my sister's betrayal. "I need to speak with Vanessa Ellis," Officer Jenkins said. "Dr. Ellis, do you have her contact information?" "I'll do you one better," I said coldly. "I'll take you to her." As we drove to Vanessa's apartment across town, Mom called my cell every 5 minutes, begging me to reconsider. Each call I sent to voicemail. Vanessa opened her door in silk pajamas, her eyes still heavy with sleep. When she saw me flanked by 2 police officers, her face went through a remarkable transformation. Confusion, recognition, then carefully constructed innocence. "Morgan, what's happening? Is everything okay?" "You sold Mom and Dad's house," I said flatly. "Cut the act." She blinked and I watched her calibrate her response. This was the sister who'd talked her way out of trouble since childhood. The one who'd stolen from my piggy bank at 8 and convinced me I'd miscounted. The master manipulator. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, but her voice wavered slightly. Officer Jenkins stepped forward. "Miss Ellis, I'm Officer Jenkins. We have evidence that you fraudulently sold property belonging to your parents. We need you to come to the station to answer some questions." "This is insane." Vanessa's voice rose, but I saw panic in her eyes. "Morgan, tell them this is a misunderstanding." "Is it?" I pulled out my phone, showing her a photo of the forged documents. "Explain these signatures. Explain the $380,000. Where's the money, Vanessa?" Her face crumbled and for a moment I saw genuine fear. "I can explain everything. Just give me a chance to explain." "You can explain at the station," Officer Jenkins said firmly. "Wait." Vanessa grabbed my arm, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my skin. "Morgan, please. I'll pay them back. I'll fix this. Just don't let them arrest me. Please." I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and said the hardest word I've ever spoken: "No." I sat in the observation room at the police station, watching through one-way glass as Vanessa crumbled under questioning. Detective Martinez, a sharp-eyed woman who specialized in financial crimes, laid out the evidence with surgical precision. "Ms. Ellis, we've traced the $380,000 from the house sale. It went into your personal account on March 15th. By March 22nd it was gone. 7 days. Where did it go?" Vanessa's lawyer, a court-appointed public defender who looked fresh out of law school, whispered urgently in her ear. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I have a problem," she finally whispered. "Speak up for the recording, please," Detective Martinez said, not unkindly. "I have a gambling problem." Vanessa's voice broke. "I owed people money. Dangerous people. They threatened me, threatened my daughter. I panicked. My breath caught. Vanessa had a daughter, my niece Jasmine, who was 12. I'd been helping pay for her private school." Detective Martinez slid a stack of papers across the table. "These are statements from 4 different casinos. You've lost over $600,000 in 2 years. The house sale didn't even cover your debts." "I thought I could win it back," Vanessa sobbed. "I thought if I just had one more chance." "So you stole from your elderly parents," Martinez said flatly. "You forged documents, committed real estate fraud, and left them homeless. I didn't think Morgan would find out so fast. I thought I had time to fix it." Listening to her, I felt something break inside me. This wasn't a momentary mistake. This was calculated, planned betrayal. My parents arrived at the station an hour later. Dad's face was ashen, Mom clutching his arm like he might collapse. When they saw Vanessa through the glass, Mom made a sound I'll never forget. A wounded animal keen that echoed through the observation room. "Pie baby," she whispered. "Pie baby girl." "She's not a baby," I said harshly. "She's a criminal who stole your home." Dad turned to me and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Disappointment. In me. "Morgan, she's sick. She needs help, not handcuffs." "She needs accountability," I shot back. "Do you understand what she did? She forged your signatures. She took advantage of your trust. Where exactly are you planning to live now?" "We'll figure something out," Mom said quietly. "But we can't abandon our daughter." "She abandoned you." My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. "She left you homeless to feed her addiction." A victim advocate, a kind-faced woman named Sarah, gently interrupted. "I understand emotions are high. But right now we need to focus on next steps. Mr. Lincoln, the buyer, is also a victim. The DA is building a case for wire fraud, forgery, and grand larceny. How much time is she looking at? Dad asked hoarsely. 5 to 15 years, Sarah said gently. Unless she cooperates fully and shows remorse. Mom's knees buckled. Dad caught her and they held each other, two people watching their family shatter. And I felt nothing but cold, justified anger. 3 days later, Detective Martinez called me to the station again. We've uncovered more, she said grimly. You should sit down. She spread documents across the table like a macabre deck of cards. Bank statements. Loan applications. Credit card bills. All in my parents' names. All forged by Vanessa. She took out a home equity line of credit against the house a year ago, Martinez explained. That's probably when she got the idea to sell it. She'd already drained $75,000 from that line. My stomach turned. How much total? Best estimate? She's stolen approximately $500,000 from your family over 3 years. The house sale was just the biggest single theft. I stared at the evidence, my mind reeling. My parents don't know about this, do they? Not yet. But they'll need to know before the trial. These documents will be evidence. I drove to my parents' temporary apartment, a cramped 2-bedroom I'd rented while we sorted out the house situation. They were sitting at a small kitchen table looking lost in this unfamiliar space. I have something to show you, I said quietly. As I laid out the evidence, I watched my father age 10 years in 10 minutes. Mom just stared at the papers, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. Why didn't you tell us you'd given Vanessa access to your accounts? I asked, trying to keep accusation from my voice. She said she wanted to help, Dad whispered. Said she'd manage our bills while we enjoyed retirement. She was our daughter. We trusted her. That trust cost you everything. It cost us our daughter, Mom said softly, looking at me with red-rimmed eyes. And maybe our other daughter too. The words hit like a physical blow. What's that supposed to mean? You've become so hard, Morgan. So unforgiving. I stood up, chair scraping harshly against linoleum. I'm the only one trying to save you. But as I left, I wondered if she was right. A week before Vanessa's arraignment, my niece Jasmine called me. She was 13 now, living with her father's parents since Vanessa's arrest. I'd been avoiding her calls, unable to face the collateral damage of my sister's crimes. Aunt Morgan. Her voice was small, scared. Please don't send my mom to prison. My throat tightened. Jasmine, sweetie, this isn't about me sending anyone anywhere. Your mom broke the law. I know what she did was wrong. Jasmine's voice cracked. But she's sick. She told me everything. About the gambling, the debts, the people who threatened us. She was trying to protect me. By stealing from her own parents? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. I'm not defending her. Jasmine's cry was anguished. I'm just saying, if she goes to prison I lose my mom. Grandma and Grandpa already lost their house. Haven't we all lost enough? I closed my eyes, remembering Jasmine as a toddler, how she'd fallen asleep on my lap while I studied for medical boards. How I'd promised to always protect her. What do you want me to do, baby? The prosecutor said if you write a letter asking for leniency it might help. Please, Aunt Morgan. He's getting help now. He's in therapy. She wants to change. After we hung up, I sat in my empty apartment staring at my laptop. A letter of leniency. Could I do that? Should I? I thought about justice. About family. About mercy. And I had no idea what was right anymore. The arraignment arrived on a cold Tuesday morning. The courtroom smelled of old wood and stale coffee, filled with strangers whose tragedies were about to become public record. Vanessa entered in an orange jumpsuit, her usually perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, her face bare of makeup. She looked broken. Our eyes met across the room. She mouthed, "I'm sorry," and I looked away. The prosecutor, a stern woman named Patricia Reeves, laid out the charges with devastating clarity. Wire fraud, forgery, grand larceny, identity theft. Each word another nail in Vanessa's coffin. The defendant engaged in a systematic pattern of theft targeting her own elderly parents, Reeves stated coldly. She exploited their trust, forged their signatures, and left them homeless to fund a gambling addiction. The state recommends bail be set at $100,000. Vanessa's public defender stood. Your Honor, my client is a single mother with no prior criminal record. She's cooperating fully and has begun treatment for gambling addiction. She's not a flight risk. She's a theft risk, Judge Anderson said dryly. Bail is set at $75,000. Trial date is set for 8 weeks from today. I'd come prepared to feel vindicated. Instead, I felt hollow as they led Vanessa away. She turned back once more, her eyes finding mine, and I saw something that haunted me. Not the sister who'd betrayed us, but the scared little girl who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. Outside the courtroom, Eric Lincoln approached me hesitantly. Dr. Ellis, I wanted to apologize again. I had no idea. You're a victim too, I said, surprising myself with the gentleness in my voice. My lawyer is working on getting your money back. The house will be returned to my parents. Thank you. His eyes welled up. My wife, she's been so stressed. This whole situation. I know. And I did. This wasn't just about money. It was about trust, security, the foundation of our lives crumbling. Mom and Dad emerged from the courtroom looking smaller somehow. Mom clutched a tissue and Dad's hand shook as he reached for her. Are you happy now? Mom asked me quietly. No, I said honestly. I'm really not. 3 weeks before trial, Vanessa's lawyer called with a plea deal offer. She'd plead guilty to reduced charges, 1 count of fraud, 1 count of forgery, in exchange for 5 years in prison with possibility of parole after 3 and mandatory restitution. It's a good deal, the prosecutor told me when I called to discuss it. She'll serve time, your parents will get restitution, and we avoid a lengthy trial. What's the restitution amount? $500,000, to be paid through wage garnishment upon release and liquidation of any assets. Realistically, your parents might see $100,000 over the next decade. I hung up and sat in my car outside the hospital watching nurses change shifts. I'd missed so much work dealing with this nightmare. My career, the thing I'd sacrificed everything for, was suffering. But what did any of it matter if my family was destroyed? I drove to the prison for visiting hours. Vanessa looked worse, thinner, her skin sallow, her eyes haunted. When she saw me, she started crying immediately. I'm so sorry, she whispered through the glass partition. Morgan, I'm so sorry. Why? The question I'd been holding back for weeks. Just tell me why. It started small, she said, her voice barely audible. $20 on a slot machine at a work event. I won $500. Felt like magic, like I'd found a secret. I'd been struggling so hard financially, working 2 jobs, barely making rent. That win, it felt like hope. So you chased it. Every time I lost, I thought the next bet would get it back. It became the only thing that made me feel alive. The rush, the possibility. And when the debts piled up, when dangerous people started calling, threatening Jasmine. Her voice broke. I panicked. I looked at that house and thought, they don't need this much space. I can borrow against it, win big, pay everyone back, and they'd never know. But you didn't win. I never won. Not really. Even when I won, I just bet it all again. She pressed her palm against the glass. I'm sick, Morgan. I know that doesn't excuse what I did, but I'm sick. And I need help. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw the truth. She was sick. But she'd also made choices. Terrible, destructive choices that had consequences. I hope you get help, I said quietly. But you have to face what you did. I know. I'm taking the plea deal. The night before Vanessa's sentencing, I wrote a letter. Not the one Jasmine had asked for, a plea for leniency. But a different kind of letter. One I'd never send. Dear Vanessa, I've been trying to figure out when I should have seen this coming. Was it when we were kids and you'd steal from my piggy bank? When you borrowed my car and returned it empty, claiming I must have forgotten to fill the tank? When you asked to borrow money you never paid back? Or maybe I saw it all along and chose to ignore it. Because you're my sister and I loved you and family is supposed to mean something. The prosecutor asked me if I wanted to read a victim impact statement at your sentencing. I declined. Because how do I stand up there and quantify what you took? It's not just money. It's not just a house. You took mom and dad's security, their trust, their peace of mind in what should be their golden years. Dad's blood pressure has skyrocketed. Mom cries herself to sleep. They're 72 and 74 years old, and instead of enjoying retirement, they're dealing with this nightmare. You took my niece's childhood. Jasmine is living with people who aren't her parents, going to a new school, losing her friends. He cries when she talks about you. She's 13 and learning that people you love can destroy you. You took my peace. I'm a surgeon. I hold people's hearts in my hands. I need steady hands, clear focus, perfect concentration. But for weeks now I've been distracted, angry, devastated. I've had to step back from surgeries because I can't guarantee my performance. But mostly, Vanessa, you took something I can never get back. The sister I thought I had. The person I would have trusted with my life. Every memory we share is now tainted. Every laugh, every confidence, every moment of sisterhood now feels like a lie. I want to hate you. God, I want to hate you so much. It would be easier than this complicated grief I feel for someone who's still alive but already lost to me. I hope prison gives you time to think. To really understand the devastation you caused. To become someone different. But I don't think I can ever forgive you. Your sister, Morgan. I folded the letter, put it in an envelope and locked it in my desk drawer. Some truths don't need to be spoken to be real. The courtroom was packed for sentencing day. I sat between my parents in the front row, my mother's hand cold in mine. Jasmine sat behind us with her paternal grandparents, her eyes red and swollen. Vanessa entered in a gray suit her public defender had provided, trying to look respectable. She'd lost at least 20 pounds since her arrest, her cheekbones sharp, her eyes hollow. Judge Anderson reviewed the case file, his expression grave. Ms. Ellis, you've pleaded guilty to 1 count of wire fraud and 1 count of forgery. Before I pass sentence, does the defense wish to present any mitigating factors? Vanessa's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client has been diagnosed with severe gambling disorder. She's begun treatment in custody and has shown genuine remorse. She's a first-time offender and a single mother. We ask the court to consider alternative sentencing, including intensive therapy and community service. The prosecution's position? Judge Anderson asked. Patricia Reeves stood and I saw no mercy in her face. Your Honor, the defendant's addiction doesn't excuse her actions. She didn't steal from a corporation or stranger. She targeted her own elderly parents, leaving them homeless. She showed sophistication and planning in her crimes, forging documents and deceiving multiple parties. The state maintains that incarceration is necessary. Does anyone wish to present victim impact statements? My mother stood shakily and I hadn't known she'd planned this. Her voice trembled as she read from a paper. My daughter Vanessa is sick. What she did was wrong, but she's still my child. I don't want her to go to prison. I want her to get help. We're willing to work with her on restitution. Judge Anderson's expression softened slightly. And Dr. Ellis? Everyone turned to look at me. I felt the weight of their expectations. Mom wanting mercy, the prosecutor wanting justice, Jasmine wanting her mother back, Eric Lincoln wanting acknowledgement of his suffering. I stood slowly. Your Honor, I'm torn. Part of me wants to see my sister punished for the devastation she caused. But another part remembers who she was before addiction consumed her. I don't know what the right answer is. I just know our family is broken and I don't think a prison sentence will fix that. Judge Anderson nodded gravely. Ms. Ellis, please stand. Vanessa rose, trembling. What you did was a profound betrayal. You exploited your parents' trust, forged documents, and left your family in financial ruin. However, I also recognize that addiction is a disease, and punishment without rehabilitation serves no one. Hope flickered on Vanessa's face. I sentence you to 5 years in state prison with eligibility for parole after 3 years, contingent on completion of intensive addiction therapy and good behavior. You are ordered to pay full restitution of $500,000 to your victims. This sentence is effective immediately. Vanessa collapsed into sobs as guards approached to take her into custody. She turned to us, reaching out, and Jasmine broke free from her grandparents to run forward. "Mommy!" They embraced through tears and I had to look away. This was justice. This was right. So why did it feel like everyone had lost? 6 months later, I stood in the garden of my parents' mansion, restored to their possession after lengthy legal proceedings. Eric Lincoln had been made whole through the state's victim fund and Vanessa's liquidated assets. The house was theirs again, but it felt different. Haunted. Mom tended her roses with mechanical precision, but her smile never reached her eyes. Dad sat on the porch staring at nothing. They'd aged years and months. I visited every Sunday, dutiful but distant. We didn't talk about Vanessa, though she was the ghost at every dinner table, the empty chair that screamed louder than words. Jasmine lived with them now. Her father's parents couldn't handle her grief, her anger, her acting out. So my parents, in their 70s, were raising a teenager devastated by her mother's incarceration. Aunt Morgan. Jasmine found me in the garden, her face thinner, harder than a 14-year-old should be. I wrote Mom a letter. Will you read it before I send it? I took the letter with shaking hands. I don't know if I'll ever forgive you. Aunt Morgan says forgiveness isn't something you owe someone, it's something you do for yourself. But I'm not ready. I miss you. I hate that I miss you. I hate that I love you even though you destroyed everything. The therapist says that's normal, but it doesn't feel normal. Feels like I'm broken too. Grandma and Grandpa are good to me, but they're tired. They should be traveling, relaxing, living their lives. Instead they're raising me because you gambled away their house. I see what this did to Aunt Morgan too. She works all the time now, barely sleeps. She won't say it, but I know she blames herself for trusting you. You didn't just hurt yourself, Mom. You hurt everyone who loved you. I hope the therapy helps. I hope you really change. Because I need to believe people can. Jasmine. I handed the letter back, tears streaming down my face. It's perfect, baby. Send it. That night, I sat in my own apartment, the expensive downtown condo I'd bought as a reward for my success, and felt its emptiness. I'd sacrificed relationships for my career, chosen achievement over connection. I'd judged Vanessa's addiction while being consumed by my own. Work, control, the need to fix everything. My phone rang. Morgan, honey, I need to tell you something I should have said months ago. Her voice was thick with emotion. Thank you. For fighting for us. For standing up when I couldn't. I was angry at you for a long time, but you were right. Vanessa needed consequences. We all needed to face the truth. Mom. But sweetie, I'm worried about you too. You've become so isolated. So hard. Don't let what Vanessa did turn you into someone you're not. After we hung up, I thought about her words. Was I becoming someone I didn't recognize? Someone who led with anger instead of love? I pulled out the letter I'd written to Vanessa months ago, the one I'd never sent. I read it again, and this time I saw something different. Not justice but pain. Not righteousness but grief. I took out fresh paper and started writing again. Dear Vanessa, I'm still angry. I don't know if that will ever go away completely. What you did was unforgivable in many ways. But I'm also grieving. Grieving the sister I lost, the family we were, the innocence we can't reclaim. I hope you're getting help. I hope you're facing your demons. Not because you owe it to us, though you do, but because you owe it to yourself. To Jasmine. To the person you could still become. I don't know if I'll ever trust you again. I don't know if our relationship can be repaired. But I hope you find peace. I hope you heal. And maybe someday I will too. Morgan. I sealed the envelope, addressed it to the correctional facility, and placed it on my desk. Tomorrow I'd decide whether to send it. Tonight I let myself cry. For my sister, for my parents, for Jasmine, for the family we used to be and would never be again. The house had been recovered. Justice had been served. The villain had been punished. But we'd all lost something irreplaceable, each other. And as I stood looking out at the city lights, successful and righteous and utterly alone, I wondered if maybe there were no winners in stories like this. Only survivors trying to piece together the shattered remains of love and trust, hoping that somehow, someday, the broken pieces might resemble something whole again. The mansion stood restored but empty of joy. Justice was served but healing remained elusive. And I learned the hardest truth of all. Sometimes doing the right thing costs everything, and the price of justice is paid in the currency of broken hearts and fractured families that can never truly be repaired. Some betrayals are simply too deep, some wounds too profound. And sometimes the only thing left to do is survive them, carrying the scars forever as a reminder that even love has limits, and even family can break beyond repair.